Hi, and welcome to this video in the series on how to use PSec GEARS for fixed income analysis in the South African context. And today we're going to be talking a bit about working with public holidays for South Africa, adding business days. So we're going to be covering a range of functions. So the format for these videos is going to be the functions that are available in the general area of what we're working with. Will be listed at the start of the workbook. These workbooks will be available for download, and if you'd like, you can pause the video now to just have a read through these functions, but I'm going to skip ahead to actually getting today's date in Excel. So how you would do this normally in Excel, you have your today function in Excel, and that's how you can get today's date. However, this function is volatile, which means every time anything in this workbook changes, you move your box, this cell will recalculate, and anything that's based off of that cell will also recalculate. So once you have large workbooks that use this date as a reference, those workbooks will become very slow as this has to recalculate, and your entire workbook recalculates every time you change anything in Excel. So you'd want to get away from that. So what you could do is just put a static data in here, and there's a handy shortcut in Excel, which is Control and semicolon. As you see, I'm actually showing the shortcut keys I press on the screen on the right, but there's also a function in GEARS that gets around this. So we have a non-volatile function in GEARS that is pt.today, which just returns today's date, but this is not volatile. So this doesn't recalculate, and you can actually build large workbooks based on a date. However, the drawback is that you actually have to come into the cell and press enter for this to update. So let's tackle the problem. So settlement is usually t+3, and if you'd have to calculate this manually, you'd either have to manually put in the settlement date, or you have to be aware of all the public holidays, weekends, etc., etc. But GEARS does get around this by using the pt.add workdays. It does say add workdays, but really you can also subtract workdays. So here I'm putting in the date and what to add and subtract. So 3 workdays from now is the 17th of May, or if I subtract 3, it's the 9th of May. You can add one, you can put in anything you'd like, you can even move to next year. Let's leave this at 3. And if at any point you feel like you want to pause or rewind the video, please feel free to do so. We're going to be covering a lot of functionality in a relatively short time. And yeah, we're going to kind of move on. And the same functionality can be used to create data sets fairly quickly. So often you'd want to get data for the end of a month, but not every last day of the month is a business day, so there won't be any data published by the JSE. So ideally you'd want to get the last business day of every month. And how do we do this? So a fairly easy way to do this is with an Excel function. So we use the start date and then we subtract months. Let me change this to subtract. So this is we construct a 12 month history, and let's check if this is a work day for each of these dates, and we want to drag that down. And as you can see, not all of these are work days, so what we want to do is get the last work day of a month. And if you know the South African date conventions, you can use the modified following, which will give you either the next date or the previous work day if it moves into the next month. So here we can quickly drag this down, and as a final check, pt.is workday date, and we want to fill this down as well. And here we have the last business day of every month. Again, please feel free to rewind or download this workbook if you want to see more on this function. So now we want to see whether something is a public holiday. you can use this with the PT for prescient tools. And then is public holiday date, and it's not. Why is it not? We can use the pt.public holiday description. Is not the best abbreviation or most intuitive abbreviation, but here you put in a date and you press enter. It's not a public holiday. But what if we put in the 29th, which is the election day this year, and here we get both that it is a public holiday and also it will say that it is election day, and this will be similar for every other public holiday. And sometimes, I mean, this is not the most realistic scenario, but we'd want to get the next coupon date for any bond, and just telling Excel that the R isn't for rands with that abbreviation. We want to use the R186 trade date. Let's check the trade date today, and then we want to have the next coupon date is, don't worry too much about this function right now, but this is just accessing the bond data, so this knows, Excel knows when this bond pays coupons, and I'm gonna just use that field as a reference, and the date of this date, let's make that an absolute reference in case we want to reuse this. Let's also make this an absolute rate, and cool. The 21st of June, so it's slightly more than a month, but now we want to know how many business days are in between that, so pt dot number of work days, so this gets the number of work days between the start date and an end date, and we have 27 work days between these two dates. Again, if you're unsure about this function, you can look here on what's required, or you can press help on this function and this help file will tell you what's happening. I mean, this is a simple function, but just helping you along with your Gears journey is understanding where to find help if you need it. And now we're going to move into a more advanced topic with workdays. Is often you'd want to construct data sets representing financial data. And again, we're going to be using, actually, let's use the RN 2027 for this one. Last trading day, so we would want pt dot add workdays pt dot today. So what we're doing here is we're getting today -1, so the last available work date, which will be the last available data point. That's the 13th, and I am just going to, by convention, add workdays date and -252, which is the convention for the amount of the average number of workdays in a South African calendar year. That's the 10th May, and there's multiple ways to do this. What you can do is pt dot workdays, so this will generate a vector of dates between a start and an end date. And you will get 252 dates for the last 252 days. And then what we can do is, don't worry about this function too much, we're just constructing data for now. So this is the market-to-market valuation. I'm looking for a bond cade, again absolute referencing, so keep on that bond cell. And we are doing the BP spread, so the basis point spread. And again, because sometimes you want to drag this across to create a data set of multiple columns, we want to keep this to 90. And then for the date, we're going to use the date we've created on the left, and that is column B. So here for the 10th of May, we have a basis point spread of 60. And the last trade date we can drag across and just change to a date. So this was last traded on the 9th of May. So that was 4 days ago. I'm not sure how many business days that is at this point. And we can drag this formula down. And that works. Sometimes this is not the best way to do things. So what we can do, let's delete all of this. You can use the pf.mtm range, so this will get you a larger data set all at once without having to specify individual functions. And what I want here is these outputs. There's 3 outputs. I want a start date, which is this date, and I want an end date, which is this date. And everything is populated at once. And we can calculate the days between last traded with the PAT.number workdays. We want the start date, which is this one, so the last traded, and the end date. And we can go all the way down. Again, if you want to graph this visually, you can just use your shortcut. Data is there. I just want to change the chart type to a line, as this is in continuous time into end of days. And there you have it. This is the foundations of working with dates in PSec GEARS, and I'll see you for the next video.